I didn't take a lead. We did this. We've done the same thing last 4 years.
We were watching Dowell for the whole game. He wasn't doing anything.
All right, I'm in.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smack Talk Live. I am Coach along with Lone Wolf. And Lone Wolf, let's get right into it. We are going to talk about some pretty key matchups this week that are going to impact the playoff race coming up here, in about a month.
We're actually getting to that point in the season where you got to start really thinking about postseason and postseason position.
Yeah, exactly. And I watched some of the Steeler Ravens game yesterday, and they interviewed Goodell at halftime and asked him straight out, has there been any discussion of shortening the regular season? And Goodell said no, that they're happy with the protocols. And I laughed to myself.
Yeah.
I mean,
as they're playing this game on a Wednesday
of
all the issues they had. But yeah.
So I mean, I get it. You're the commissioner, and you have to have this air of confidence that you're going to get it in. But all you have to do is say that we're confident we can get all the regular season games in.
Right.
By saying that you're happy with the protocols, things like that, it's kind of telling to me you're saying, "Oh, we're doing everything right."
Yeah.
You're not, and before we get into the games, we'll talk about this headline, this whole thing with the game yesterday versus the Bronco game on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well,
I think he even said, I saw an article about him making a comment about not needing a bubble. We're confident about what we're going to do for the playoffs too.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. They haven't even considered a bubble,
right.
Which I don't know. It's kind of silly to me. I mean, you could, wherever the number one seed is, all the playoff teams go there for that conference, and that's where you play all your playoff games.
Right, exactly. They're all at the same place, yeah.
When you get eliminated, you go home.
Right.
That's just me, I guess.
I know. That's the thing. The other sports that had a bubble were successful in doing that. And now, granted, they were able to do that in one spot for their whole season, with the shortened season or whatever they had, meaning the NHL and the NBA. But, for the playoffs, the NFL could do that.
They usually
but
could.
They're not considering it at all. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So I wanted to get your take on this because they postponed the Steeler Baltimore game 3 times because of a widespread outbreak within the Ravens organization.
Right.
And they did play without Lamar Jackson, and the Steelers played without James Conner and a couple of the other guys. Okay. But then the Broncos on Saturday, all their quarterbacks, not to say test positive, but are put in the COVID restriction because of close contact with somebody that has COVID.
Right.
And they don't delay that game. And they won't let the Broncos make a roster move to get a quarterback on the roster. They basically told the Broncos, you're forfeiting this game.
Right.
But yet for Baltimore, Pittsburgh, nope, we'll keep pushing this game back as far as we can so you can play it. My question to Roger Goodell would be this in regards to this situation. If the Broncos were in the playoff hunt or they were one of the better teams in the league this year, would you have delayed this game? Because that's what it seems like. It seems like, well, you're not very good anyways this year. You're done. We're making you
Right.
lose.
So we'll just let the Saints win this game, and we don't care.
Right. And then Baltimore is in the playoff hunt. We gotta let them play this game instead of saying, well, too bad you have like 15 guys on COVID. You know, yeah,
I mean,
okay.
I hear you. You know, Goodell will never say that, but that's exactly what it felt like to me, and it probably feels like to a lot of other people too. And knowing Goodell's track record, it would not surprise me at all that was the case. You know, that's the reasoning behind it. I mean, he's made so many different proclamations, said so many different things over the years as his time in charge of the NFL that this would just be one more thing to add on to the mix of it. You know, he just kind of does what he wants. He's in charge. He'll just do this, and he'll say basically whatever he feels like. I mean, he thinks he's untouchable, is what it seems like. So he's able to do whatever he wants. So this is just one more thing in the long line of you know, Goodell and being the way that he is.
Exactly. That's one of my issues is that, you know, I get it, you know, from on the Thursday, the Thanksgiving day, you know, bumping it back to Sunday,
Right.
things like that. But so you're telling me you had to give Baltimore a whole week basically to figure out roster moves in order to play a game? They ended up activating their entire practice squad to field their team anyways.
Yeah, they did. I mean, there were so many people out of that game, and yes, the Steelers had some too, but they had so many people out on their roster. Playing it on Wednesday. I mean, what ended up changing as far as them being able to do it? They had time to make those changes. Basically, they gave them time to get set up. Probably even let those guys, you know, get activated in practice. Why don't you do the same thing for the Broncos? I mean, you just give them some time. Set the game on Monday. Give them a little bit of time. Put it on Tuesday, whatever it is.
Give them a day to get a quarterback on their roster that can at least function as a quarterback instead of a receiver that, you
He
know,
played quarterback in college or whatever. You know, I mean, I
yeah,
get
for
it, but still.
like a handful of games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was ridiculous. So
Yeah.
that's the first headline that I think was kind of interesting from this past weekend.
Right.
You know, I guess I don't know. I don't know. That
Yeah,
kind of
I get irritated with Goodell, and I think a lot of people do. He does this kind of stuff. He makes these proclamations. He says these things, and we all know what he really means. I mean, actions a lot of times will speak louder than words, and his actions definitely show. Well, yeah, these teams are good, so we'll give them preference. So
yeah,
I don't know why the owners don't get. I mean, the owners have to be more upset about these sorts of things. Uh, it's not like the Broncos don't have any power and ownership that can do something about it. I would think, Goodell does stuff like this and makes people angry. I would think the owners would want to maybe have a little talk with him about it. This
Well,
is
yeah.
much more than just one team.
If I'm the owner of the Broncos and I see this, I'm furious. I'm
Yeah.
absolutely furious. And when it comes to Goodell's next contract, I'm not voting for his contract. I'm
Oh
saying
yeah,
I
no
want
way.
somebody else because you're playing favorites to the teams that have good records
Right.
here, and you don't care about these teams that are struggling. And you're like, oh, whatever, big deal. I mean, the Broncos were sitting at 4-6.
Right.
If they pull off the upset, they're 5-6 and only 2 games out.
Right. They're right in the hunt.
I,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long shot. It's a long shot, but it's a shot.
But it doesn't matter. It's still a shot.
Now you're 4-7. You went
Yeah.
out. You'd have to hope they expand it to 8.
I don't think there's really any chance that they get in now, though. I mean, yeah, I know what you mean. Mathematically, they might still have a shot, um, but yeah, that really one game like that really diminishes their chances of making the postseason. So, yeah, it's unfair.
So, yeah, I'm trying to think. Was there any other headlines
The only other headline, I guess, out of that same game that we kind of talked about was, do the Steelers go undefeated? I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. They got 5 games left. They're 11-0. Is that going to happen, or do you really think it's going to happen?
I don't think it's going to happen now. Not after the news today. Bud Dupree's out here with a torn ACL. I do not think so.
Yeah.
I think their defensive pass rush has taken a huge hit. When you have 2 guys, Bud Dupree and Watt, rushing the quarterback, it's tough. It's tough to play offense against that. You've seen it. We saw it with the Packers. When they had
Za'Darius and Preston Smith. Yeah.
Well, before them. What was
you thinking, like Reggie White and Sean Jones or something?
No.
How long ago are you talking about here?
When they just had the one, can't think of his name, the one end with Mike Daniels.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's all we had.
Yeah.
It wasn't much of a threat. He was great when we actually had a second guy that could at least occupy another offensive lineman. He was in there all the time. Well, so the same thing's going to happen with Watt. You now as an offensive line, you're going to be like, okay, we are going to make sure we know where Watt is all the time because Dupree's not there anymore.
Right. Yeah, and that's just it. Yeah, no, I agree. I saw that too, and that makes it really difficult for them. And not only that, I mean, I was going to say outside of the Bud Dupree thing, they have some really tough games left on their schedule. They've got Buffalo yet. So they have some, I think the Colts yet. They have some really tough matchups coming up on their schedule. And it's really difficult to go through and to win every single game. I mean, it's only been done once before, I'll say that. I'm not taking anything away from the Dolphins, but they played 14 games, not 16 games. So that's the only reason.
But hey, the Dolphins ended up winning the Super Bowl that year, and the Patriots didn't. So
that is true. That is very true.
You can go undefeated all you want unless you win the Super Bowl. It's all for naught.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen now. They'll drop a game or two here, and that's just how it's gonna be. I don't think they're gonna win all 16. So.
All right. Well, let's get into it, Lone Wolf. You have the list of games. I'll let you take the lead on this. and let's get rolling.
Okay, so we decided that we were going to focus on games that have teams that are vying for playoff spots. So there's some games that we're not going to really go over that much. We may touch on it, just say winner loser kind of thing. But let's focus on these games, and then we might hit up those other games and just talk about them real briefly. So first game, Browns Titans. This is a really great and interesting matchup, I think, because we talked about this last week, and I mentioned, hey, the Browns, give them a little credit for being 8-3, but you said, well, yeah, they beat the people they should have beat, and so here's the game, right? This is a barometer game for them. You got the Titans coming to town. Derrick Henry is in royalty form, if you want to call it that. I mean, he's the king, right? So if they can shut him down, maybe they have a chance, but I don't know. I don't think the Browns have enough, and I don't think they're quite at that level yet. I think Derrick Henry is going to probably run roughshod over this team.
Well, and it's interesting because the Titans have struggled against the run, and the Browns have one of the best rushing attacks in the league with Nick Chubb
and Kareem Hunt. Yeah.
The difference is going to be, I think, in quarterback play, and I don't care what your record is in Cleveland. If you're sitting in their front office, you're thinking, we need to upgrade quarterback. We need to upgrade our quarterback position. Not with a rookie, because we have a good team. We need to go out this offseason and get a quality veteran quarterback that can actually play the position.
Like Matt Stafford?
Yeah, like Matt Stafford. I don't think he'll be going to the Browns.
No, I don't think so, yeah.
I have a couple of other
ideas, yeah.
With that.
I agree with you, though. I mean, that's the thing. We've never been high on Mayfield, and he's never shown it. Even this season, they're 8-3. Pick a game where Mayfield has gone out and just dominated the game for them to win. And don't tell me against Cincinnati, because just don't say it. Don't even say it. If anybody's listening to this, we're like, oh my God, he destroyed the Bengals. Well, so did a lot of other teams. So I don't need to hear that. He needs to prove himself against the good teams in the league, and he has not done that.
Right, and I agree. I think the Titans end up winning this game. I think Tannehill is a much better quarterback. I think Cleveland would love to have a quarterback like Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
To be honest, so Titans, it'll be a good game, but I think Titans will win by like 10.
Yeah. Next game is the Colts and the Texans.
Now, and some people are probably saying, how is this a key game?
Right.
Because the Colts are sitting at 7-4. They're pretty secure in a playoff spot. They're a game ahead of even the
Raiders,
the seed team. So they're pretty solid. They got a 2-game cushion. I don't see them dropping that many games. The reason this is a key game, the Texans their offense has been clicking since Romeo Crennel has become interim head coach. Now, I'm not saying that he's the answer in Houston long term as a coach. But he has a connection with Deshaun Watson. They're clicking. Watson is finally playing back at the level he is. So that's why this is an intriguing and a key matchup, because I could easily see Houston pulling off an upset against some quality opponents down the stretch here. And not finishing like 6-10, 7-9 when they started out 0-4. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And, looking at how the Colts have played, they've kind of been a Jekyll and Hyde all year. They played great against Green Bay, and then they lose last week. And just get
But really,
embarrassed.
only mostly a half against Green Bay. I mean, honestly,
Right.
they gave up 28 points in the first half, and that's the other thing too. They've been giving up a lot of points at various times, and against the Titans, I mean, they just got shellacked. You know, so if Rivers gets pressure on him, he's not running out of the pocket. Um, I don't know. This could be interesting because the Colts could end up losing position in terms of the playoffs, but they could, if they drop a couple of games there, they could be in real trouble.
Right.
And I think this is one they could drop.
And I'm actually going to pick Houston in the upset here. They've won 2 in a row. They're playing really well. They have a newfound confidence. I think Houston is going to pull off the upset here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close one. I think with Will Fuller being out due to his little PED problem, that might slow the Texans down a little bit offensively. So it's going to be really close, but I think I'll give just the little edge to the Colts.
All right, next game.
Wouldn't think it, but it is true. Giants Seahawks.
This is a huge game.
Huge game.
The Giants are, and everybody's like, whoa, what do you mean huge game? The Giants stink. Yes, they do, but they are in first place in the NFC.
Their division.
So they need to keep winning in order to hold on to that division lead. If they don't, I'll tell you right now, and in our conversation, the other night, I said it. I really like Washington coming out at the end of this whole train wreck of a division as the division champion. I really like Alex Smith. I think he's going to be the difference there.
Down the stretch, yeah.
When it comes to these last 5 games. But if you look at for Seattle right now is sitting in second in the second seed, which we've talked about this. Yeah. Unless you're the number 1 seed, it's
pretty irrelevant.
Technically it could, down the stretch, but it's not that big of a deal. You still get a home playoff game. Right now, Seattle would be playing Arizona, number 2, and Green Bay would be playing the Buccaneers. Neither of those teams want those matchups.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Today, I might be picking 2 upsets in the first round.
Yeah.
To be honest. So Seattle wants to keep pace with New Orleans because I'll tell you right now, Tyson Hill is not going to continue to play the way he is. New Orleans is going to drop a game here or there.
Well, and I don't even know that he's been playing that great anyway. He didn't really play that great against the Broncos. And, I think the defense really did the job as opposed to Taysom Hill. So for Seattle, it's huge because if also New Orleans drops a game and there's a 3-way tie, they get the number 1 seed over Green Bay. Green Bay has a tiebreaker with New Orleans because of head-to-head. Correct. Yep.
But Seattle, it has the overall tiebreaker, I believe, with all 3 of them. So
I think they do, yeah.
And they're only a game up on the Rams.
Right. That's the other thing too. Right.
So you could go all the way from number 1 down to number 5 in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So this is a huge game. I do like Seattle on this. I don't even think it's going to be much of a game. Daniel Jones is out. You got Colt McCoy at quarterback for the Giants. This has a Seattle thumping all over it. And guess what? Seattle gets Mr. Gordon back at receiver.
Oh, my God.
He was reinstated today by the NFL.
Oh, man.
I don't know how many chances a guy can get.
And he'll be in rehab within 3 weeks.
He won't be with the team in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous.
So yeah,
I agree. I think Seattle
I'm
wins handily. I mean, I like the story of the Giants. This whole Joe Judge. We didn't know what it was going to turn out to be. He had the good
I,
fortune of being in the
I,
worst division
I was going to
historically
say
bad in football.
it is what it is. It is what we thought it would be with the
Yeah, we
Giants.
thought it was going to be
The
bad. I don't know if we thought it was this
division is
bad though.
so bad,
Yeah, it's
just
just
so
it's
bad.
just abysmal. Yeah. So, but yeah, Seattle. I mean, their defense is actually playing better than it had been. Not that it'll matter a whole lot against the Giants. The Giants are just overmatched in this game. So,
All right,
next
keep
game,
on moving.
also staying in the NFC West. This is an absolutely huge game for both of these teams. Rams, Cardinals.
Yes, this is big because if you look at it, the Rams again, they're trying to keep pace with Seattle, trying to win that division. The Cardinals need to win. If the Cardinals drop this game, they're now 6-6.
Yeah,
And this puts in the that seventh playoff seed to everybody because the Vikings play the Jaguars.
right.
The Bears play the Lions. Yes, okay, it is what it is. The Lions, we'll talk about that situation later. I expect both those teams win. They'll be 6-6. I'm not sure who the 49ers play,
Right.
but if the 49ers win and then the Cardinals lose, you now have a four-team tie for the final playoff spot.
Right. Yeah, this is absolutely huge. The 49ers play the Bills, and so I don't think they're going to
Yeah,
win. I
they
think the
probably
Bills are
will
going to
not
beat
win
the
that game.
49ers. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, it doesn't, even then, it's still absolutely huge. There's so many teams jockeying for that position, and if the Cardinals drop another game, yeah, they're in dire straits, I think, a little bit because then you've got 4 games left, and you're jockeying with all of those other teams to get that last playoff spot. So this is it right here. I mean, this is one of those matchups that you have to go out, get psyched for, and give it your all because you want to win this game.
Yeah, yeah, and this is a tough one.
It's really hard. Yeah, yeah.
Is this in Arizona or in LA? I mean, it doesn't matter too much.
It's in Arizona. Yep.
Man, I mean, I'm gonna go with the Cardinals because I hope the Cardinals win because I don't want the Vikings to make the playoffs. I mean, so
I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna go with the Rams because I think both of these teams last week had some issues. You had some turnovers from the Rams. The Cardinals had some issues in closing out the Patriots, which should have been able to do. But I think the Rams defensively are going to give the Cardinals more problems, and the Rams are going to close it out.
all right, next game.
All right, next game. So, well, we briefly talked about it, and that's Bills 49ers. So let's touch on that.
I mean, it's a big game in the respect for the Bills because they only have a 1-game lead on the Dolphins.
Right.
Huge game for the 49ers. If you win this, you're right in the thick of it still. You lose it, you're done.
Yeah.
Because you're now 5-7. 9-7, I don't think will do it this year unless again they expand it to that 8 teams, which if they play every game, they're not going to. So
that's assuming that they go 9-7, and it's assuming
right.
that other teams aren't in a spot that would be ahead of them or tied with
Yeah.
them, that they'd have the tiebreaker, all of that. So yeah.
But I am gonna go with the Bills in this one. I just think the Bills are that much better than the 49ers.
And I agree. I mean, I think the Bills are going to win. It's one of those games we had to put it on there, I think, because it's got playoff implications for both teams. But I think it's one the Bills pull off. And then we had Washington and the Steelers on here, and I think that's also one of those games that definitely has some playoff implications because we talked about the Giants earlier. If Washington stays ahead of the Giants or they win this game, They put themselves in the driver's seat in the NFC East at 5-7, which is amazing. And then the Steelers here, they've been trying to keep ahead of the Chiefs for the number 1 seed. If the Steelers lose this game, that's hurtful to them in that quest. So this is a pretty big game. On paper it looks like it would be a mismatch, but I don't know. I think it's going to be closer than people think.
Well, and you have to remember this. They moved this game, I believe, to Monday.
Yeah, it's on Monday night.
So the Steelers get Thursday, today will be an off day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You get 4 days to recuperate and get ready for the Redskins. Oh, I'm sorry, Washington football team.
Yes.
That's not a lot of time to turn around and play a game. I don't care who you are. I don't care what team you are. That is not a lot of time to recover from a game. And it was a tough game.
It was a rivalry game against the Ravens, yeah.
So, that is concerning. You lose Bud Dupree on defense. And I'm trying to see here. I mean, it's not a surprise. Like Roethlisberger didn't practice today.
Right.
But they have a lot of guys. They are getting banged up. And I think, and I thought he'd be back. He's available to come back this week, and maybe not. But James Conner, if James Conner cannot play on Monday, this is going to be a really good game, I think. People are saying, "What are you talking about?" And I could be totally wrong. I'm just going
on. I mean, we could be, but I just feel that way too. I just feel like the Steelers have been battling, and these last couple of games that they've had have taken a real big toll on them. They haven't really dominated some teams. Like they didn't dominate the Cowboys. They didn't dominate the Ravens. They're not on cruise control right now, and they've got a lot of injuries, and they've got a lot of key injuries and people being out. So I don't know. I think in Washington's playing better. They're playing with more confidence. I agree with you. Alex Smith is a difference maker. After that horrible leg injury he had, coming back and playing the way he has now, people have to remember this guy was the number 1 pick for a reason. I mean, he wasn't one of those number 1 picks like a Jamarcus Russell who's probably cleaning toilets and weighs 400 pounds somewhere. This guy is a good, competitive, solid quarterback. And I think it'll make a difference. I don't know. I almost want to say I think I'm going to pick Washington in this game.
You know what? I'm going to. I feel I'm in an upset kind of mode. I am picking Washington to give the Steelers their first loss. I think the Steelers are a good team. But like you said, you barely beat Dallas. You barely beat Baltimore. I don't think they can go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, especially after losing Bud Dupree. I think that injury is going to significantly impact them these last 5 weeks. So I'm going to go with the Washington football team upsetting the Pittsburgh Steelers and taking control of the NFC East. And I'll tell you this, if Washington wins the NFC East, Alex Smith is comeback player of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
How can't you vote for the guy? He almost lost his leg.
Yeah.
I mean, he had his flesh was being eaten alive by a bacteria.
Right.
and
there's not much more comeback than that to be at the point where you're at right now. Yeah.
And he'd come back and lead a team to a division title. I don't care if it's a below 500 record, which it probably
doesn't matter. Yeah.
I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. You were written off. You weren't even the number 3 quarterback to begin the season.
Right.
So that's just my sense.
Yeah.
We'll get into the awards.
No, hey, I hear you. I agree. We'll have to get into awards, yeah. But I'm going Washington too. I really feel like it. I'm just trending that way. It just feels like this is the game that the Steelers are going to drop. So I think so too. Yeah. Okay. Right. So last game on the schedule here that we've got that we wanted to talk about was Cowboys Ravens. Not maybe as much for the Cowboys, but they have some slim playoff hopes yet to get in if they win the division. But the Ravens, this is an all meaningful, very important game for them. Right now they're on the cusp, on the outside looking in. And if they drop this game, they are not making the playoffs. I'm just going to say it. If they drop this game, they are not going to be in the postseason.
Oh, I agree. They cannot lose this. They cannot lose another game here. They have to find a way to win out. I don't know if they can.
Yeah,
but they need to if they want to. If they want to make the playoffs. Yeah, and we have this game there because the Ravens are. They're game back now of the final playoff spot. The Cowboys are game back in the division lead. So it's intriguing for the team that wins. The team that loses, their season's probably done.
Right.
And I don't know, with the way that Mike McCarthy's calling offense right now, I'm saying that the Ravens finally get right here. They get a win. And keep their playoff hopes alive, hoping that the Cardinals or Dolphins slip up here and they can get back in it.
Yeah, I think the Ravens will win the game too. I think the Cowboys are kind of like the best medicine for the Ravens. To be able to.
Let's be honest. The Jets are the best medicine for a struggling football.
Okay, that's true. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking to win a game here, people, and you need it, you just need to play the Jets. You'll be fine. But I think the Ravens will. Here's the problem I have, though. If they win this game, I still feel like their chances to make the playoffs are not as good, just because of the way this team is playing. Yes, I know COVID issues. We can talk about that, but the way that the team has been playing.
This has nothing to do with COVID issues, Lone Wolf.
Right.
Is last year they found I'm not going to say gimmick, but a scheme that worked with Lamar Jackson's skill set that people didn't adjust to.
Right.
People now have adjusted.
Right.
And are showing Lamar Jackson is not a pocket quarterback. And I said this last year.
Right.
Yeah, he had a great season.
Yep. He was MVP. Great. Yep.
He is not a great NFL quarterback. Just because you have one great season doesn't make you a great quarterback.
Right.
You have to be able to throw the ball down the field. I don't, and people are saying, oh, they don't have receivers, they don't have this.
Hollywood, they got receivers that can catch the ball down the field.
But he's not even driving the ball down the field in the passing game. That's the problem. He's not giving plays enough time to develop downfield. He wants to do what he did last year, tuck and run. You can't do that anymore. People have figured it out. You look at Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't run that much. He's very mobile in the pocket, and he's like Rodgers was when he was, his first 5-6 years. Slide in the pocket, run towards line of scrimmage, and then sling the ball to a receiver in a place only the receiver can catch it before he crosses the line. Lamar Jackson, as soon as he breaks that pocket, he's not thinking about throwing the ball. He's running the ball. You send everybody rushing upfield because he is not throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Period. So,
And
So,
yeah,
but
their offense is not right. So that is very concerning as far as their playoff hopes are concerned.
yeah, I mean, even if they win this game, if they win, the Ravens win, the Colts and Dolphins, I'll say all four of those teams win. They're still a game back. They have to leapfrog two teams
Mm-hmm.
to get into the playoffs.
Right, exactly.
So they have to
Yeah.
hope the Raiders continue to struggle and that the Colts and
Drop a
the
couple of
Dolphins
games, or
drop a
yep,
couple
or the
games.
Browns or somebody. Yep, yeah.
So I think the Browns, I mean, unless they totally collapse and don't win another game the rest of the year, they're pretty safe.
Yeah,
But
they're probably going to be. Yeah.
the Dolphins, the Colts are the ones that they can't afford to slip up.
Right.
But anyway,
Okay. So those are the games that we had that had the playoff implications that we were going to talk about, and then we can briefly go through the other games and just kind of give
nah,
a little,
I,
you know.
let's not waste our breath on
All
those.
right, that's fine. Well, we can at least mention the one game. Obviously, the Packers were Packers fans, so we'll just do that real quick. Playing the Eagles, really horrible situation there right now. So I think the Packers go in. They're kind of on an offensive tear after beating a very good defensive team in the Bears, and I think the Packers win handily.
Yeah, I think this is a 20-plus point victory. That Eagles offense is putrid. I mean, it's putrid. And I believe there's going to be some major changes in Philadelphia this offseason, roster-wise, if not possibly coaching-wise.
Right.
Some of the just some of the things that Doug Peterson has said,
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
get your
I
head cracking. Like,
think we
why
talked
would you
about that in
why would you
Tennessee.
even say that? Sometimes the coaches are their worst enemy. They answer a question
Mm-hmm.
because a way that they feel that is going to make them look good, but it's not. It makes you sound really stupid. And sometimes just answer the question. Be honest. Be
Yeah.
blunt.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say, "Hey, we're not very good," and
Yeah.
then
Everybody knows it.
and say, "You know what? We're not playing very good football right now. Us as coaches have to evaluate how we're preparing the team and getting our team ready, and then the players have to evaluate how they're playing."
Yeah.
What's wrong with an answer like that?
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Just
Well,
throw it
because
out there. It's true.
what are people going to say? Yep, you're right.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
Yep, you're right.
exactly.
Okay, let me get back to work. But they
Right.
don't. They have
No.
all these reasons and stop making excuses for being bad. You're bad. You're bad. What are you gonna do about it? So, but yeah, Green
Go out there and do
Bay
something.
rolls in this game. Um,
Yeah.
Again, the worst the Packers should be is 12-4 at the end of this season. The
I think
Titan
so.
game
Yeah.
worries me a little bit.
Right.
But that still may be enough to get that first overall seed, depending on when Drew Brees comes back for the Saints. So,
Right. Okay. So keep them or leave them.
well, let's talk about one other headline.
Oh, okay. All right. We can get to that before we get to the keep
No,
them or leave them.
this can wait till the end because it kind of fits in the hot seat. So yes, we'll
Okay.
go.
All right.
We are to keep them or leave them. So this week, I'm gonna just say a name, and
Okay.
we're not gonna get into huge discussions
Right.
about them right away. I just want your reaction. Keep them or leave them,
Sure.
and then we'll discuss some of the more interesting ones when we're done with the entire list.
Yeah,
I have
that
because I
works.
have a
Yep.
list of quite a few names.
Oh, okay. All right. Perfect.
So, all right, first name on the list. If you keep them or leave them, new GM of the Lions, Matt Stafford. Keep them or leave them.
Leave them.
Carson Wentz. Keep them or leave them.
Leave them. Leave them.
Ooh, 2 leaves. Doug Peterson.
Leave them.
Ooh,
I'm cleaning house.
cleaning house. Matt Ryan. I told you these weren't going to be easy.
Keep him.
Gary, keep him. All right, keeping him.
Yep.
Taysom Hill,
Oh, leave him.
Jimmy Garoppolo,
Leave him.
David Carr.
Oh, you mean Derek Carr?
Or Derek Carr, I'm sorry.
Yep. Well, I know what you're gonna say, but I'm gonna say keep him.
Ooh. The 49ers as a playoff team.
Oh, leave him.
Bill Belichick.
That's.
I told you.
I don't know what they're gonna do, but I'm gonna say keep him.
I told you these were.
It's a tough one. That's good. Yeah.
Romeo Crennel.
I'll leave him.
Raheem Morris.
Leave him.
And last but not least, Darrell Bevel.
Well, this is an easy one now, considering the headlines that we read about Darrell Bevel. Leave him.
Leave him. All right. That is our keep him or leave him. So what this was is not a lot of people talk about these things is players. Keep it or leave them. Would you keep them on your roster or would you trade them, cut them, whatever you want to do with them? And I think it's really important right now to talk about some of this stuff because you look at the situation the Lions are in. Mm-hmm. And there is a staff person at the school I teach at that is a diehard Lions fan.
Yeah,
loves the Lions. He was so happy that they fired Matt Patricia.
Right.
Then I said, "Well, you know who you have now." And he goes, "Who?" I go, "Darrell Bevel." He's like, yeah. "Who is that?" I go, "Exactly."
Hey, come on! He played quarterback at Wisconsin. He was.
I know.
But, offensive coordinator. Come on.
Yeah, but like I said in the past, I've told you.
Yep.
You were the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, and they let you go.
Yeah.
They let you leave. They didn't even try to keep you. There's a reason for that. So, but where I'm getting at first with Matt Stafford here, because this is one of the more interesting ones. The other ones are kind of pretty easy to do,
Yeah.
Discussions.
I think there's some. I think there's a couple storylines there that are worth it. But this is a good one, right?
But if I am the new GM, you have to tear down this entire thing.
Yeah.
The Lions for so long have been a kind of a patchwork type organization. They have Matt Stafford, then they have Megatron, then they, this and that, and they have pieces here and there, and they don't like the coach, so they fire the coach and bring that new coach in, then just try to patch around the same guys, and they never really address the issues on their roster. They just kind of bring in guys that they think are going to patchwork it together and it's going to work. And it doesn't. Matt Stafford is to me, is a top tier quarterback in this league. He puts up phenomenal statistics on a really bad football team.
Right.
I'll tell you now, you put him on a replace, for whatever reason, Aaron Rodgers retires, Packers get Matt Stafford. You don't think Stafford's going to have a really good season in Green Bay with this offense?
Oh, yeah.
Or with the Rams offense?
Right.
Or, hint, hint, the Raiders offense? Any of those organizations would jump at a chance to get this guy. And the staff member was like, "You can't trade him. You can't." Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you should.
I can guarantee you could get a first and a third round draft pick for Matt Stafford still.
Well, and I think they should. I mean, really, honestly, like you said, you got to blow this thing up. I think it's time you trade away Stafford, you get some draft capital, and you build around some of the young guys that you just drafted. You know, you got DeAndre Swift, you've got Jeff Okuda, you've got some of these guys, pieces that you think are going to be those guys for the future. You just drafted them, and you want to start building around what you have. So build up your offensive line, get a new quarterback. The biggest mistake I think the Lions could make is if they trade Stafford, they turn around and they try to get one of those top rookie quarterbacks and right away in the draft. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes they can make because they're going to think, oh,
Yep.
well, maybe we'll get one of those guys and we'll build around him. Don't do that. Your organization is horrible. You have to bring in line play. Your line play is terrible. Get good defensive and offensive line players. Build around what you've got right now with some of the young guys, and you can get a quarterback later on. I mean, you're going to be bad. You are not going to be good next year. You are not. So if you draft Trevor Lawrence or whoever you draft, which I mean they won't have the number one pick, but I don't want them to get draft capital and try to trade up to get Trevor Lawrence because I think they would just be foolish.
Well, it's gonna be interesting to see who they bring in as the GM.
Yeah.
If they bring in an actual football person or another analytics guy. You know, and again, in talking with this fan, and I didn't know this, I thought they were more hands off than this, is that I guess the Ford family is very, very involved in football decisions.
Ah, okay.
Nah, bad. You know, that's Mike's Cardinal.
Don't Jerry Jones it.
Yeah, don't Jones it. And, you know, hire football people to do the football work
Right.
and enjoy the fruits of the labor when they win. And you can tell the community, look what I brought you. Hey.
Right.
And
Exactly.
you know, you didn't do anything. You just wrote the checks. But
who cares? You know,
anyway,
that's how it goes. You know, yeah.
So that's why I think it's really important. You know, I the Stanford situation is going to be a big thing. I think I've been calling for him to be traded since last offseason, since the end
I
of
know you have. Yeah.
and I think it's finally. I've been reading some articles that people are starting to say it. It's like you guys can go back on our podcast or like one of our very first podcasts, and I said it. I said it.
I mean, that was one of the first shows that we had. I remember it was a long time ago. You said Stafford needs to be traded. You know.
So, just going down the list, Derek Carr, you know how I feel about him.
Yeah.
He's a quality quarterback. He is not a Super Bowl quarterback.
Yeah.
The Raiders are a quarterback away from being, I think, right there with the Chiefs. Right there. And people are going to be like, you're crazy. The Chiefs are so good.
Yeah.
They're not as good as you think. They have Patrick Mahomes and
Right.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, it's gonna come. They're gonna come back down to earth here really fast when guys start being like, okay, you've paid these guys, and they'll start paying us. These defensive guys are gonna be like, we want money, and the Chiefs are gonna be like, we don't have any. They're gonna be like, see ya.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing that happened with Rodgers and the Packers. But I think the Raiders need to get a quarterback, a veteran quarterback, and I have been lobbying for almost a year now for Matt Stafford.
I think the Raiders. The other thing the Raiders need, though, is a pass rusher. I mean, they really need somebody up front to be more disruptive with the quarterback, and I would say that's probably a major pressing need for them. But yeah, I mean, look, I said keep him because I think I think John Gruden can work with him. I think he's good. He's good enough to maybe if you put the team together that you can and you put it in place, I think you can be successful there. But could they upgrade at quarterback? They certainly could. I don't know if they will, though. I'm not certain if they will.
You'd be surprised. I think John Gruden, if they do not make the playoffs this year, Derek Carr will be gone. Guarantee it.
Now, the real interesting thing is you got some of these quarterbacks we're talking about. What if Stafford ended up in San Francisco? And Jimmy G gets the boot, which I think he should, and the 49ers are serious about wanting to be a title contender again. Imagine them putting a different quarterback in that situation, and how good they would be then.
And that would make their offense that much better, but their defense is going to take a huge step because Robert Saleh will be a head coach somewhere next year.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
Because that's
a huge difference.
There's reports out of San Francisco that Shanahan doesn't know what he's going to do if Saleh leaves. Obviously he knows he's going to have to hire somebody else, but he doesn't know who he's going to get because there's nobody that's that good. So,
and that guy needs to be a head coach. I mean, you said it a long time ago, but I agree with you. I mean, what he did with the 49ers defense, he needs to be out there as a head coach somewhere.
So, Bill Belichick, I threw the name on there just because the situation the Patriots are in. I would keep him. I mean, I'd keep him until he says he wants to be done. It was just one of those names that I thought, you know what, would be an intriguing conversation. Basically, Bill Belichick has a lifetime contract with the Patriots. Robert Kraft is not going to force him out unless they get really bad. I mean, things are going to get really, really bad there for Robert Kraft to be like, Bill, it's time to go. And I don't think they'll ever do that. I don't know if you'll ever see the level of success that he had previous to this year, but I think, maybe not next year, but in 2 years, they'll be back in that, division title chase.
If he sticks around.
If he sticks around. I mean, there are rumors that he wants to just be a GM, but he doesn't want to do it in New England. He wants to do it somewhere else. So there are rumors of him going to the Giants, things like that, because he loves the Giants, but and the Mara family. But we'll see what happens there. The last name I want to talk about, because we talked about Cornell Morris last week, is Darrell Bevell. Last week you said keep him because you wanted to see what he wanted to do.
Yep.
Well, I have the news article here. Darrell Bevell, in his first public appearance since being promoted to head coach, dropped the word fun 6 times and quoted, "I just want players to be able to have a great time."
Yeah. So we're on the leave him train now. Not only did he say that, but then he also blew it for both of his daughters and their fiancés. So, as soon as I read that article, and people laugh and be like, oh, well, that's not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal. It's indicative of a guy and his behavior. Okay. He does not have this thing put together. He wants guys to have fun. It's going to be lighthearted. This team is going to get just trounced by everybody. Well, okay. They're not going to get trounced by the Bears because the Bears are not very good. But
if they get trounced by the Bears,
holy crap. Yeah, this is a train wreck waiting to happen. I mean, and people are going to say, well, he just had a press conference. I'm like, yeah, he had 2 press conferences that are both awful.
Yeah.
Everything he has said and everything he's done so far, he is not a leader of men. It is not showing me that he is going to be a good leader as the head coach, and this is going to be an awful situation.
I mean, I'm sorry. These are professional football players. Professional football players. The fun is in winning.
Yeah. Yeah, they can have some lighthearted fun here and there, but the focus should be retool this team, get them focused back on the goal, win some games. That's what you really want to do. What are you going to have, party games? I mean, pin the tail on the donkey. What are you going to do? Give me a break.
I don't know. Wants his team to work hard and have fun.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Detroit, and I told the staff member that I know. I said I do feel for Detroit fans. I really do. I mean, it's been since Barry Sanders that they've been good. I mean, yeah, they've had 1 or 2 years where they made the playoffs, but it's not like they've had, since they've had Stafford, they've had some good rosters, and they just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
In Detroit. So
bring back Matt Millen.
I even said, I told this guy, I said, you might as well, you're better off with Marty Morningweg. Bring him back.
Yeah. Bring him back as your head coach. Wait, bring him back as your head coach and make Matt Millen your GM again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what they do there. I do think they'll hire an offensive coach in Detroit because their last two. Well, shouldn't say that. Matt Patricia was a defensive coach, and their defense was atrocious. But I think that's more of their roster wasn't very good. I didn't like Matt Patricia as a coach, but the GM didn't do him any favors giving them.
I just don't think the Lions just don't seem to be a team that has ever been really good at roster building. They just aren't putting together the pieces they need to be successful. And yeah, they've had some really poor choices at head coach, but I think even more so at the GM level. And I think you hit on this earlier. You said, well, if the ownership is more involved in those decisions, well, that's a problem.
Yep.
I mean, I'll give the Cowboys this. At least Jerry Jones has been able to find talent, because the Cowboys typically have a pretty talented roster and have for many of the years that they have underperformed. But, the Lions just really haven't been able to do that. They get a player here and there, but if you have Calvin Johnson and no one else on your offense, it doesn't do you any good.
Right. So, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So that's it for this week's Keep 'em or Leave 'em. Moving on to our hot seat. Again, this is our top 5 coaches on the hot seat, minus Adam Gase, who is on the list of The Walking Dead.
And who might be or might not be, or maybe he's calling plays, but maybe he was only doing it on that third down, or maybe he was doing it for part of the game.
Hold on. I got a surprise for you.
Oh, okay.
Got a surprise for you. We'll see. This is the first time ever on the show that we're trying this, so we'll see if it works. But I got a surprise once we get to the Adam Gase and the Walking Dead list.
Okay, so, all right.
Let's get going with the hot seat.
Okay, all right.
At number 5, I really readjusted my list after looking at everything and some of the stuff that happened. And really, this is a benefit. They didn't play this week. But they did play this week. He lost me the game. Probably lost me a bye on my fantasy league. Mike McCarthy, number 5 on the hot seat. Just everything I'm reading is that they're not going to move on from him, which fine, whatever. You're gonna stink then, but
keep him around. Go for it.
He's my number 5.
Yeah, he's also my number 5, just by virtue of you're always going to be in that list, McCarthy. But there's other guys who deserve to be higher on this list than you did, and that's about it.
Right. All right, my number 4, and this is more of just a continual collapse in games and not able to get over the hump. Give him a little reprieve because he does have a very young roster. but I think they may move on from him this year, and that is Anthony Lynn of the Chargers is my number 4 on my hot list.
And no, we did not talk about this before
We did
it
not.
happened
We did
because
not talk about these lists.
Anthony Lynn is also my number 4. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just kind of consistent. He'll never be my number 1
Right.
because he's not in that level. But they're competitive in games, but they've been dropping him. You can be close, but you got to win those close ones. And he's been doing it that way for too long. So I think it's time to move on. He's my number 4.
All right. My number 3, I struggled with this because I kind of want to put him at number 1, but the two guys I have at 1 and 2 are they're so deserving of being up there right now.
Yeah.
And that is Doug Peterson is my number 3. He has skyrocketed up the hot seat list the last 3 weeks. I mean, if they get humiliated by Green Bay, I might add him to the Walking Dead list because ownership has not come out and reassured him that he has his job next year.
And he even said that.
And that is not a good sign, especially in Philadelphia.
Right. And I agree. I mean, this is weird, but I put him as my number 3 also. He was lower on my list before, and it was one of those things where he was my 5, and I keep looking at how this team looks. Offensively, this team looks completely in disarray and just awful. And I thought last week we'd see more of Jalen Hurts because I thought, well, Wentz has kind of been stinking up the joint. Throw the kid in, see what he's got. But he barely played. And so I don't know really what their plan is offensively or what they're trying to do. And so he moved up to my number 3. I think he's going to be out in Philadelphia based on how they're not reassuring him. They're not saying anything. He's talking as if he doesn't really know if he's coming back. I think it's done. I think he's going to be done. They're very unforgiving in Philadelphia. So this is probably going to happen at the end of the season.
All right. My number 2, to go without saying, you could easily put him number 1, but
either one of these guys could be.
The guy at number 1 just he is a loss this week. If he loses this week, he's on the Walking Dead list also. But my number 2 right now is Doug Marrone of the Jacksonville Jaguars. You already fired your GM. Both my number 1 and number 2 they're kind of like have one foot in on the Walking Dead list and one on the hot seat.
Yeah, and I have a little different take on these two guys than you do because I'm pretty sure I know who your number 1 is. My number 2 is Matt Nagy. There's a small breath of potential life left in the Bears for this season, and they're sitting at 5 and 6. They still have a potential shot, and this is the reason why I put them at number 2 as opposed to him at number 2, because the Jaguars have no shot. Okay, so Marrone's done. We know that he's going to be gone. But Matt Nagy, I think he's still going to be gone. But the Bears as a team have this slim chance of making the postseason yet, and that's probably why he's not my number 1. So Matt Nagy's my number 2.
Well, and Matt Nagy is my number 1 because my feeling is this: unless they win out, he is fired. They can go 4-1, make the playoffs. He's still getting fired. This team, they're offensively so bad. He went and lobbied to have Nick Foles at quarterback. I mean, this is just absolutely horrendous offense.
Yeah, it's bad.
And you're supposed to be an offensive guru. And when I hear people call people gurus, you take average talent and make it good. You make good talent, make it great. You have average offensive talent at most positions. You should make it good. You should make it at least viable. It's not even viable right now. Yeah, and I think they are a bottom third football team in the NFL. They are probably the worst 5 and 6 playoff contending team that I can remember in my entire life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, they're bad, and I'm not disagreeing necessarily with what you said. That's the only reason I put him at the 2. Marone, to me, Marone is already gone. I mean, he's almost at the level. The problem is that Adam Gase is so ineptly, uniquely bad that I have a hard time putting somebody else with him, even though Marone is 1-10 or 1-11 or whatever they are. They're terrible, and we know he's going to be gone. And I think it's a foregone conclusion. But I have a hard time. I'll give him a halvesies. You said he's got 1 foot on the Walking Dead list. I think that's fair.
All right. And Adam Gase is on the Walking Dead, and we have a special appearance for Adam Gase. If you can't hear anything, please let me know, because I'm not. It kind of worked for me. It might be a delay for you, but
Okay.
we have a special appearance by the head coach of the New York Jets, Adam Gase. So just listen.
We were watching Dowell through the whole game. He wasn't doing anything. I mean, he was just standing there.
He tells me it's not hard. This is not hard. We go through it the drive before. Hey, these are the 3 plays. I do the third downs.
So what happens after the 3 plays when you have a series? Because we were watching one where Dowell was talking to Frank Pollock. He wasn't calling the plays. You were.
What part of the game was it?
I want to say that was the third quarter.
Yeah.
I was trying to do some of the 2-minute stuff.
So
that came through loud and clear, Coach.
oh my Lord. You said you don't do play calling. But then you just said, well, I do some of the third down stuff, and then I do the 2-minute stuff. Well, that sounds like play calling to me.
Sounds like play calling. Yes. You know what? If this wasn't a professional football team, this would be a comedy. This is comical. It's so horrible.
And the greatest thing is, you can't see it. I have the video up playing at home.
I watched that video earlier. And yeah.
The facial expressions, like, what do you mean? This is so easy. It's so easy.
It's not hard.
It's not easy. You're 0-11. If it was that easy, you wouldn't be 0-11.
Yeah. Historically bad. I know, I shake my head. No, that was perfect. That worked perfectly. It was great. The absolute ineptitude of this guy. And we've talked about that enough, but what bothers me more, as we've said a couple times, this organization has not confirmed what they're going to do and have talked as if they're going to keep him. Why? Did you hear him talk? Did you listen to him? This is your coach? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Unbelievable.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm
sorry, Gangrene. I just don't know what to tell you guys.
I don't know what to say anymore. Yeah. The guy is an utter
doofus,
an utter moron. how he is still employed.
I don't know. I don't even know how he could get any job in the NFL right now. Why would you even want him on your sideline or in your booth or your box or whatever? I mean, you don't even want him cleaning your toilets. This guy does not deserve a job in the NFL at all.
No, he shouldn't. He should not even be allowed on a football field. I wouldn't even want him around my high school team. It's utterly ridiculous
Yeah.
how bad of a coach he is, and how he went from being fired by the Dolphins and hired within less than a week of being fired.
Oh, people thought he was so great. I mean, the Dolphins dumped him, and it's like people couldn't get their hands on him fast enough. Like, what did you see from him getting fired by the Dolphins that made you think, oh, this guy's our savior? He's going to be so good.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
And
But-
he just went, he just spiraled, and it just became terrible. It's just, yeah.
But again, that soundbite right there, that
Pretty much,
shows you,
yeah.
like we said, coaches don't help themselves out at all.
No.
They make stupid comments. You simply just say, you know what? I was calling plays. He was taking care of some other stuff. That's how we do it. If there's an issue with the offensive line, I have my coordinator go over and try and figure it out because of the head coach.
That's all you need to do. That's all
The
you
head
need to
coach
say.
should be back talking to a position coach during a game.
Yeah.
That should be the coordinator or whoever you have on the sideline designated to do that.
Right.
But no, he has to sit there and try to make some stupid excuse up. And what part of the game was it? You know what part of the game it was.
But the problem is, Coach, if he might not know.
Oh,
I mean, he might not know. He might not. He doesn't seem to know what's going on, so he might not know what part of the game it
my
was.
Lord.
What part of the game was that? I don't know, man. Were you paying attention during the game, or playing Game Boy on the sidelines? I mean, what are you doing?
Well, and they asked him earlier in that press conference. They asked him about the going for it on these fourth downs. He goes, "Well, which one are you talking about? How many fourth downs did you go for? What just happened? You forgot about it already that fast?"
You went for it on fourth down like 15 times. Which one are you talking about here?
I mean, seriously, normally you only go for a fourth down. I think the most times I've ever seen it in a game that I've coached is 4, because it's all fourth and ones. Well, I could that game, like I told you, oh yeah, the reason we got this one is because of this. The reason we did get the fourth one is because of this.
Right.
I mean, it's just
Utter ineptitude. It's so bad. Yeah.
Please, someone in the NFL call me up, give me a chance to coach, because I can do a better job than Adam Gase.
Yeah.
Seriously.
The best part is, at this point, you probably could just get thrown in there, and they might win a few games over the last, 5 games they got here.
Bring me in for the last 3 weeks. I can win a game.
Yeah, give me a game.
Then they'll lose out on Trevor Lawrence, so won't sign with them anyways.
Well, that's the best part. At this point, you wonder, are they keeping him around because they know they're going to lose every game and think they're going to get Trevor Lawrence and get rid of Sam Darnold in the offseason, and they have this magical plan. But, yeah, I don't know. Trevor Lawrence, he doesn't want to go there.
Oh, exactly. There's no way Trevor Lawrence wants to go to the Jets. There's a rumor that he may go back to Clemson,
right?
If the Jets tell him that they're going to draft him.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I probably would do that if I were him.
Yeah, if you're a quarterback, you don't want to go play for the Jets or the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
That's not
You're like,
happening.
no. What quarterback has survived in either of those organizations in the last 20 years?
Yeah.
None. So, but hey, it is what it is. So that is the Walking
That's the
Dead
hot seat.
list, the hot
The
seat.
Walking Dead list. Yeah.
Finally, the long NBA preseason training camp begun. I laugh, I chuckle because I read all these articles from all these local like bloggers from all the Miami Heat and the Warriors and the Lakers saying, "Oh, they're gonna push for Giannis. They're gonna push for Giannis. They want to be a super team with Giannis next year." Well, you can cross the Lakers off that list after today and yesterday with
Right.
LeBron James extending and Anthony Davis signing his mega deal. There's no way that they can create enough cap space to bring in Giannis.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
And then the extension the Heats gave, I don't remember his name. I can't pronounce it anyways. That puts jeopardy that they may not have cap space for Giannis. So even though he hasn't signed anything, the markets that he has been rumored to go to have quickly signed their guys.
Right.
So that tells me that in the inner circle, people know what he's going to do. Because I really truly think if Milwaukee had a sense that he was not going to re-sign, they would have traded him.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I mean, it's Bam Adebayo, and then they also, which that was the big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
they re-signed Udonis Haslem, but they signed Bam to a big deal, the richest in franchise history apparently.
Right.
So when you do something like that, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is not them prepping for Giannis. And the Lakers, I don't really think that was ever a realistic thing. They had to focus on the superstars they already had, and they signed them up for their extensions, their big contracts.
What they were talking about that they could have done is because LeBron was under contract through this year. He could have signed a 1-year tender, and then next offseason they could have structured 3 like kind of supermax deals with LeBron, AD, and Giannis.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, that would actually been interesting to watch because they might not lose a game.
Yeah, I mean they would have been pretty insane with that roster.
Yeah. But here's my feeling, and people say, "Oh, you'd just be salty because you're from Wisconsin." It's like, no, I felt the same way when LeBron left Cleveland to win championships. Is that you're a sellout? You took the easy way out. If you do that, you have the potential to win a title in Milwaukee. Will it be easy? No, it's not going to be easy.
Right.
But unless you're like if you're like LeBron right now, I wouldn't have a problem with it because okay, you've gone your whole career trying to help this one franchise win a title. You can't do it. You want to go to a contender. Okay, good. I'm for you.
Yep.
But when you're in the middle of the peak of your career, you are such a changer. If you also need to sit there and say and you bail on your organization,
yeah,
I'm gonna call you a sellout. So if he does leave, I'm gonna call him a sellout because everything that he had talked about the last 2-3 years,
right,
was a lie.
yeah,
Loyalty, this and that, and I hope that wasn't just talk to appease people, and that he is going to re-sign this contract. He is going to sign the extension, but time's ticking.
Yeah.
Time's ticking.
That's the thing that worries me the most about the situation I think he will still do it and he'll sign, but it does worry me that that hasn't happened yet from a fan standpoint. And so you look at it and say, well, that's concerning. I agree though. I think you look at it, those places people are like, oh, we're just gonna go for Giannis. It hasn't happened. You got two spots there, they're done, and other teams haven't really made there hasn't been a lot of other teams that have made overtures there. I personally don't think it's going to happen. I think Giannis will stay in Milwaukee because Milwaukee was very aggressive, during this period of free agency.
And I know they didn't get the one guy that Giannis really wanted to, but here's the
Yeah.
thing: they were, even if things would have been a little smoother there, it was still up to the player to agree to that, because he came out and said, well,
He didn't want to play there. Yeah.
his agent said his intention was always to go into free agency.
Right.
So, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, that's great. But then the Hawks overpaid for him.
Yeah, they really did. Yeah.
I mean, oh my
and I feel
Lord.
bad too because when we talked about this before, we're doing some NBA preview stuff and talking about who you want to be the GM of. I picked the Hawks. I mean, we talked about that. I thought they had a good chance of really building their roster and having an exciting time and coming. They overpaid for him, and that makes me. It just irritates me from a standpoint of if you're a fan, you look at that. I want to build this team. I want to be good. I want to be competitive in the East, and overpaying for a guy that's, he's a good shooter, but
Right. That's the thing. It's like you overpaid for a perimeter shooter.
yeah,
So it's going to be interesting. I think the Bucks have a more talented starting five. I think their bench is a little weaker right now, but that's
Yeah.
because we don't know how all those pieces are going to fit together. Now, they did sign some very nice role players for their bench that are good players.
yeah, yeah. Guys like DJ Augustine. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
DJ Augustine, Portis, I believe they also signed. Was it?
Yeah, Bobby Portis. Yep.
Portis, and they just signed a shooter that was a first round draft pick a couple years ago, that was playing in Europe. I'm telling you what, those European players can shoot the ball.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think they'll be okay depth wise. You know, you got to remember this: that roster in the previous 2 years was a regular season built roster. It was
Right.
built to be successful in the regular season.
And that's where they ended up, with a lot of success. They had great success in the regular season.
But they didn't have enough in the playoffs, because in the playoffs you don't play your bench as much.
Yeah.
Your starters played the majority, and they did. There were holes in that starting lineup. They sagged out when teams sagged on Giannis. We didn't have the perimeter shooting to be able to pull defenders off of him.
Right.
Now, with having Holiday, um, I really think that you now have a second person that's a game changer that can take over a game if Giannis is off.
I think so too.
I like Bledsoe, but he wasn't that game changer.
No, and Holiday is not only a guy that can score. I think he averaged around 18 points a game or so, something like that, at least. But he was a defensive stopper too. This guy's been at the top as a defensive stopper for the last 3 years at least. So you also get that from this guy, and so I think he's a difference maker that they needed. They needed another presence like that can do that can score and be that defensive presence. this makes a big to me. This makes a big difference on this team because Giannis will be Giannis no matter what. But yeah, they can't just crash down on him and then not worry about the rest of the team.
And they still have Chris Middleton.
Yeah, they do.
Um, you know, I'm just pulling up the roster here.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. I like the additions that they got though, Bobby Portis and some of these other DJ Augustine, some of these other guys that they brought in to kind of fill in the roster and be role players and help out. I think this roster, if they don't win as many regular season games, I don't care. I mean,
Right, yeah.
now we're looking at a point where we want they want success in the playoffs. That's what they're looking for.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. They need to have success in the playoffs. So they needed to upgrade that starting lineup. Yeah, I'll tell you, if you look at it, I'm not sure, who like Jalen Adams is.
Yeah.
Torrey Craig. But, Augustine and Portis, they're decent players.
Right.
You don't get paid $3.5 million and $6 million to be bad players.
No.
No.
I think people get caught up in the super team so much. Like people want there to be this 3-star super team. And yeah, I mean that's wonderful and everything, but the Bucks I think had the 1-star and a really, really good roster all the way around. Now, to me, I almost think they're at the point they have 2 stars. I think Holiday's that guy. I think they have 2 stars, and then a really, really good roster around 2 guys.
I would say they have 2.5. I think because Middleton's an all-star.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I shouldn't downplay Middleton. Yeah, you're right.
So I mean, you're looking at 3 legit guys. Plus, Brooke Lopez is a really quality, I think, underrated center.
Yeah.
It's that fourth spot, the other guard. But that's where you have, DJ Augustine can play there. You have Cunnington, DiVincenzo.
DiVincenzo, yeah, Dante DiVincenzo, yeah. I think keeping him actually worked out quite well because he's a good bench player and he's a good presence on the floor. I think he was supposed to be part of one of those trade deals, and then it ended up not happening. So I think better than
and they still have Kyle Korver, who 3-4 years ago was one of those people that everybody's like, he's gonna be a stud. And he hasn't turned out to be a stud, and he's pushing 40. But he's one of those guys that you can put in a game that's gonna give you quality minutes.
Yeah.
So I am cautiously optimistic that this is a better roster for the playoffs, and I hope. I mean, I think it'd be. I mean, it'd be a double kick to the nuts if Giannis doesn't sign. Because he could have easily said in the offseason, hey, I'm not signing. I'm just not going to sign with you guys. I'm going to go where I think I can win a title. But, I guess we'll see. And I don't know. Did the Bucks start training camp yet? Trying to find.
No. The only other thing I was going to mention is probably one of the biggest trades for the offseason that just happened. We were talking about it because it just occurred last night. And you look for that, but I was just going to mention this. John Wall and a first rounder to the Houston Rockets for Russell Westbrook. And we were talking about this yesterday. And to me, and I think you agree, Houston got the way better end of this deal.
Oh, yeah.
Because not only did they get a guy in John Wall who's younger and his all-star capability. I mean, he's definitely one of those guys. And then you get a first-round draft pick out of the deal.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. You get a first round draft pick from a team that a team that's not going to be very good. Washington is not going to be very good. I don't care if you have Russell Westbrook. Washington bailed out Houston.
With that contract,
with that deal. Let's see if I can pull up the contract.
Yeah, because Westbrook's. I mean, that was one of the big questions. The Harden Westbrook thing. What was going to happen in Houston? With Westbrook gone, I mean, that clears up that like you said the other day, we were talking about that dead contract. I mean, that huge thing that they got to deal with Westbrook. I mean, Washington, they're not going to be very good. This is you got a star on your team, but they're just not going to be a good team. Houston, this is a great move for them. I think that you look at this and they're positioning themselves well by doing something like this.
It's Russell Westbrook is making $41 million this year.
Cool. Is that all?
That's all. Pocket change.
Yeah.
So you take on a $41 million contract of an aging player. And come on, my internet's all
trying to see what John Wall's contract is.
Yeah. Oh my Lord. And come on. What the heck is going on here? And then Houston.
Well, John Wall, at least from what I can tell, is making.
Oh, they're about the same. So salaries swap. But you gave up a first round draft pick to get Russell Westbrook.
Right. And a younger player too.
So
I mean, let the debate go as far as who do you think is better, but I think Houston gets the better end of the deal for sure.
So, but I guess we'll see here. The Giannis has until December 21st to sign that extension. If he doesn't, that doesn't mean he's not going to re-sign with Milwaukee. It's just that he'll be free to sign with anybody.
Right.
At the end of the season. So I'm sure, Milwaukee would love him for him just to sign it because I don't believe he can get more money anywhere else, even if he goes into free agency.
I don't think he can. I think you're right about that. He's
all going to be about
money by staying in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's going to be all about whether or not he can go somewhere that's going to give him a better shot of winning a title.
Right.
And when you look at the NBA, there aren't many organizations that are going to be able to give him a supermax contract that's going to be a competitive
team. Right. Yep.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But that's for another day.
Yep.
That's it, Lone Wolf. Anything else that we missed?
No, I think that's good. I don't have anything else. I wanted to touch on the NBA at the end of our NFL stuff, and I think we got that pretty well squared away. So, nope, I don't have anything else.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next Thursday. Lone Wolf will have to have a call. I got some stuff figured out.
Right.
So we'll have to have a talk there. Again, everybody, we are a lot of changes are going to happen here in this next month. You will be kept up to date. We will still continue to have our audio on Podbean, but probably not live anymore. So just if you do listen to us, live at all, it will not be live on Podbean, but you'll still get the audio version of the show, but more details will come in the next couple of weeks. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week, and we will talk to you next time.
Have a good night.